Have you ever sat down to draw and before you've even put pencil to paper, you're already worried? What if it doesn't turn out how I wanted? What if I ruin it? What if it's just bad? If you've ever felt like that, you're definitely not alone. This is actually a surprisingly common feeling amongst artists. But here's the interesting thing. I don't think that we're actually anxious about the drawing. It's something deeper. Now, I get it. It would be easy for me to stand here as someone who is confident in their drawing abilities and say, just draw anyway, or just don't worry about it. But you know, I've actually been there myself many times. I've been anxious to start, anxious to commit to a particular idea. I've been worried about how it will look. I used to worry a lot. And you know, the crazy thing is, I'd work on an artwork, get to the end, look at it, not think it's very good, and then I'd feel shame. I was ashamed of myself. The voice in my head would say, I thought I was good at drawing. This drawing isn't good. There was a real conflict there. But you know, I don't think that was my real fear. So where was this feeling of shame really coming from? Shame could come from a lot of places. Maybe I was worried about wasting my time. Maybe I was worried about not improving at drawing despite trying. Maybe it was someone seeing my art and judging me. Maybe I was comparing myself to others. Maybe I was scared that this meant I wasn't good enough. All of these possibilities. Look at all that meaning. Look at all that weight that I had subconsciously tied to a piece of paper. I'd accidentally completely tied my self-worth to my art. If my drawing isn't very good, then I as a person must be not good enough. And I suspect I'm not the only one who's felt this. So what can we do about it? Well, the best place to start, I think, is to ask the question, is that actually true? If you produce a piece of art that isn't up to a certain standard, does that mean that you're a worse person? Really lean into it for a second. Imagine you've just finished a drawing and it's terrible and you hate it. Now what? Nothing. It's just a piece of paper with some scribble on it. Nobody got hurt. You don't have to put it in a frame and hang it on the wall for everyone to see. You don't have to post it online. You are even allowed to just throw it away. The world will carry on. And honestly, this perspective is incredibly freeing. Maybe you did a bit of a rubbish drawing. We both know logically that that has no correlation with who you are as a person. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad artist. In fact, I think it's the opposite. People who are willing to let themselves fail, people who try anyway, are incredibly strong people, because these are the people who are willing to sit with that discomfort. And when you can do that, it's really liberating. Now, let's talk about that bad drawing, because that bad drawing is actually a little bit of a secret weapon. That drawing isn't worthless or a waste of time. You spent time drawing. Hopefully you enjoyed the process. That's why we draw at the end of the day, right? Because we like to do it. So great. You just spent some time doing something that you love doing. All of a sudden, that drawing is a memento of that time you spent. Time for yourself, being yourself, enjoying yourself. And maybe you learned something along the way. When we do a bad drawing, that means that we can spot something is off. It could be anything, but it means that we still have lessons to learn about our drawing technique and our artistic practice. And the way we learn those lessons is through making drawings that are a bit off. The finished drawing is not the only outcome of that time you spent. It's just the byproduct at the end. You gained experience. You spent time doing something you enjoy, and you learned something along the way. In my opinion, these are far more valuable than the drawing itself. And now we're getting to maybe the most important thing around this subject. Failure. Nobody learns to walk without falling over. Mistakes are the price of learning. And no one learns to draw without producing a lot of imperfect drawings. This was true for me. I've done way more drawings that I'm not happy with than drawings that I am happy with, by a very long way. I've done drawings where the proportions were off, wobbly pencil work, a bit of a lack of a sense of direction, not following a process, uneven, scratchy shading, everything, all of it. I've done it all 1,000 times. But every single drawing taught me something. So, who are we as artists? What are we really doing? Well, I don't think of myself as someone who makes drawings. Not really. If I think of myself that way, every single drawing becomes a test. Was it good enough? Did I succeed? Did I fail? So instead, if I think of myself as someone who practices drawing, then every single drawing that I do has already done its job. So, the next time you sit down to draw and you feel anxious, remember this. You are not your drawing. That drawing is not a judgment of your worth. It's just today's practice. There is no shame in learning. There is no shame in spending time on you, doing something that you love. And that drawing that you're working on doesn't have to be your next masterpiece. It can just be a lesson along the road of your drawing journey. And if today's drawing doesn't work out, that's okay. Just do another one tomorrow.